Welcome back to another video, guys. On the next two videos, we're going to be taking a look at some of the action that me and Walker got into here in Iowa. Been hunting here since October 7th, and just over the last week or so, we started getting to a bunch more deer and a lot more bucks too. So as we've progressed from early October to late October and into November, our strategy has changed up a little bit, and the thing that we found to be most effective over the last few days that we've been hunting has been just covering ground, whether it's in the vehicle or in the boat, whatever it may be, just going and finding the hottest action, because a lot of times the rut can be here today and gone tomorrow. That ended up being the best strategy, and you'll see that a little bit in the next video. But stay tuned to the end and you'll get a little bit of a teaser as to what happens in the next video. So with that, let's get into it. Yep. Right there. Good God. Good God. It's November 3rd. Brett and I are trekking into some unfamiliar territory this afternoon. It's been raining for the last 24 hours or so. And coming over to a new spot where it's a bunch of big woods and rolling hills in here, and the Wisconsin guys that were staying at our place for the last week or so have been having quite a bit of luck over in this region. They weren't hunting this specific piece, but they had scouted it at one point and found quite a bit of deer sign in here. So me and Brett ventured over here this afternoon, and with all the wet leaves, we figured this would be a good time to come in here and check it out. So we got a break in the rain from now until about noon or 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So the goal is to work our way through here and try and find a good spot to set up for tomorrow, where we can maybe just sit there from daylight till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But on the way over here, we saw a lot of deer from the road, which is something we haven't been seeing lately. So it seems like there's a lot of deer over here in this area. Just ran into a pretty fresh scrape back behind us, and you never know. We're gonna ease our way in here. Might run into something, might run into a chase or run into some deer. Might get into some action this afternoon, but we got about 2 hours of daylight, so we're just gonna kind of cover some ground, see what we come up with in here. It smelled like buck back there. Real loud. Like the backside of these ridges where it drops down to the private. No obvious parking out there. Yeah, I like that. Brett and I had covered a lot of ground at this point in the afternoon and had just run into quite a few fresh rubs. And right around where those rubs were, the whole area just smelled like a buck was in there. So with only 40 minutes of daylight left, we decided to sit down next to a tree in a big bowl where we could see a lot of ground in the woods. Deer, big buck. Big buck down here. just got back to the car here. We ended up running into a pretty big buck back in there this afternoon. It's about as soon as we got into the woods there, we could smell buck. Both me and Walker were like, wow, that stuff's strong, you know, you could smell the musk. And we ran into quite a bit of buck sign right here close to the road, lots of rubs, and where we ended up sitting, to be honest with you, we didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. We were just smelling buck, and the sign kind of fizzled out as we got back there and decided to walk up the hill because the sign kind of died off, like I said, and walked up the hill, got in that big bowl, and just sat down for the last 40 minutes of daylight. And after sitting down, that buck stepped out about 10 minutes later. So kind of seemed like he was just bedded down there. It's a bunch of ridges that run down into that pocket that he was in. And he just got up, took about 5 steps, and just stood there till dark. Pretty sure we saw him go to the left right before the last light, and we could hear him coughing down in there. So we sat there, we got up once it got dark and walked back to the vehicle. But probably a good chance we'll be back in there in the morning. We got till 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to hunt, and then it's probably gonna be raining, looks like, for the rest of the day. So seems like as good a spot as any to start in. Big buck in there, at least one big buck in there, probably more of them. I'm assuming since he was doing that, probably most of the deer were not up and moving a whole bunch. At least the bucks might not have been, or it could have just been him doing whatever he does down in there. I don't really know. We'll take it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. 5:45 this morning, and Brett and I just rolled up to the same spot that we went into last night. After getting back to the house last night, we threw the footage on the computer, and we were looking at the footage of this buck back in here, and he don't look like he was doing all that good. We didn't realize it when we were sitting out there watching him last night. He was about 100 yards through the timber, so it was hard to really tell what was going on. But when we first saw him, he was walking to the right, and I didn't realize it. Brett saw it in the camera, but he bedded down right there, and then he just stayed there till dark. I thought he was just standing there looking around, taking, standing there smelling whatever was around him. But he bedded down, could barely keep his eyes open, it looked like. And then when he eventually got back up and started walking again, he kind of stumbled around. His tail end kind of went off to one side. So not sure if he got shot by somebody, or if he got in a fight with another buck and got all messed up, or if he's just tired from the rut already. We're not really sure. We were talking about it last night and not really sure, but he's a big buck. We know that. So after seeing that, our plan yesterday was to go in there and maybe go a little bit deeper, because we figured probably wasn't a great chance he'd be right back in that same spot. But now after seeing that, we're thinking it might be a good chance that he's in the same spot if he's hurting pretty bad. Plan for this morning, we're gonna stay on the ground, and we're gonna get right back close to where he was at to start the morning off, first light here, and see if he's still in that same little bowl there, and we'll just start there for the morning. If we can get eyes on him, then we'll keep after him, I guess. And if not, we'll probably ease our way back further into the piece and see what we can get into. But it's been raining off and on the last few days, so pretty nice to stay on the ground, because it's super quiet, especially in the leaves and the timber right now. So that's the plan for this morning. about 7:30 now, and Walker and I have made our way towards the back of this piece. We were planning on staying up front where we saw that big buck last night. We were just gonna sit there for quite a while, but once we got set up in there, our wind started doing some funky stuff right there. Kind of started sucking up the drainage where he was last night, so sat there for about 45 minutes. Had a small buck come down the ridge to us, and he got our wind, so we decided we need to move out of there. So we just kind of been working our way back to the back of this piece here. This is the last bowl back in here. We're gonna cut up into one of these drainages, try and find a trail where deer are crossing from thick patch over here to thick patch over here, and try and find a good setup for the rest of the morning until it starts raining. That's the plan. We just gotta go a little bit further and then we should be in a good spot, hopefully.
We work our way through the rest of this piece of public, but all we ended up running into was one doe. After this, we head back to the vehicle to wait out the rain. Over the course of the next couple days, we cruised around in the vehicle checking out different spots. We saw quite a few bucks while doing this, but nothing was close to public. Once the rain stopped for good, we jumped into a spot for the rest of the afternoon.
Alright, we're heading in for the day here. It's about 11 o'clock right now, and the rain has finally stopped. We had some sun even poking out on us. But we spent the morning driving around. We ended up spotting a few different bucks, and one was in a pretty good spot to kill him, but he was on private. So we messed around with that for a while, trying to find the landowner and get permission, but we struck out. So after that, we had in mind we were going to come over here to this bottom where we've been hunting quite a bit and make a big loop down along the edge of the woods in the bottom down here and kind of scout our way in. The wind has turned from south to straight out of the west today, so now that we got a west wind that's supposed to hold the rest of the afternoon, we're going to loop out to the east and work it back into the wind and see if we can find a bunch of sign to set up on for the rest of the day. Down in this bottom, Colby and I had a pretty good hunt one morning. Saw a buck that I'd probably shoot and a couple smaller bucks down in there. And we got a trail camera down in that bottom where we've had a few nice bucks on that too. But some of them have been middle of the night. A couple have been right at last light. That's kind of the reason we want to dive in, scout our way in, maybe find a spot in here that's a little bit deeper where those bucks are hanging out more in the daylight. Like I said, it's November 5th, so it could be up moving around anywhere. But we got the saddle gear, and throughout the rest of the afternoon, the wind's supposed to be up about 16 mile an hour. So if we get up in the tree and can see a good ways, might have an opportunity to spot and stalk one as well. But we'll see where we end up. Alright, we just got set up in this tree. It's about 1 o'clock right now. So we got 4 hours and 20 minutes or so daylight left. But we ended up in this spot where it's just nothing but a bunch of thick cover back in here, where we started scouting along where that ridgetop behind me meets this bottom ground and found a bunch of real heavy trails coming out of this stuff. As we walked in here, we found a couple scrapes that had some tracks in them since the rain, which the rain just quit this morning, so they're pretty fresh. And some other tracks that were back there coming into this stuff. So kind of just got out here in the middle of it in the best tree we could This thing's pretty bare except for we got up high enough where there's a few branches right here around us. So we're gonna sit here for the rest of the night and see what happens. Seems like a spot where there could be quite a few deer hanging out, and wouldn't surprise us if a buck ran a doe in here if he was chasing her around bottom. It's pretty much a completely different part of this bottom than what we have been hunting. We're probably 7/10 of a mile or so from the spot that we have been hunting in this bottom. It's definitely totally new ground, but a lot of deer sign coming through here. We're excited for this sit. We both feel pretty confident in this, as long as we don't get picked off. Well, we just saw the first deer of the afternoon. Looked like a 1.5-year-old type buck. I think he was over there along a creek that runs down through this piece. He's the first deer we've seen so far tonight. Seems like a pretty good sign that the first thing we're seeing is a little buck. We've got another 1.5 or 2 hours till dark, so we'll see what else pops out here. Wind's picking up pretty good, so hopefully that helps us stay hidden in this tree a little bit better.
All right guys, we appreciate y'all watching this video. We're out here in my shed. We're having a little deer processing party, and we've been grinding up a bunch of meat here with one of the meat 500 watt grinder, I think is what it is. But we just took this thing out of the box. This is the meat oilless vacuum sealer. I think it's new for them this year. And me and Nick have been playing around with it. We cut these back straps into thirds, and this thing works really good. If y'all are looking for vacuum sealers, they've got a bunch of them. If you'd like to do this stuff yourself, and we obviously do. We take some deer to the deer processor, but we also do a lot of this ourselves. And we're just out here having a ball. So we throw that sucker in there, that third, drop her in, set her underneath them little tabs, automatic, small bag. Away she goes. Done. That's freaking sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ready to rock and roll. Check it out. Thanks for watching this video. Check out some meat gear if you're gonna do some processing. We'll see you on the next one. We got more of these to kill yet. It's November.